If you're looking for a new muffin that you can have for a snack or even a breakfast, I've got the perfect solution for you here. These are my strawberry banana oat muffins, full of flavor and easy to come together. And they have a surprise ingredient, but you'll have to watch to find out what that is. So if you'd like to see how these are done, stick around because it's coming up next. Hello and welcome to my journey. My name is Roy. I'm a home cook, an amateur baker, and I am here on this channel sharing recipes to help me on a weight loss journey and hopefully you as well. Now, I mentioned today's recipe in Monday's weigh-in video, and quite a few people, especially my pal Bree, were very excited to have this recipe coming out. This is for my strawberry banana oat muffins. I just tested them for the first time last week and we love them. So I didn't have to change a thing. So let's go over the ingredients. Here I have some cooking spray. I have my muffin tins over here and I have lined them with cupcake liners, but I also sprayed the interior of the cupcake liners. I have foil liners because I just prefer that. It seems easier for them to come off, but a lot of times I don't even use liners. So you don't have to use the liners, but you do want to spray each of the little wells with cooking spray. Here I have 1 1/4 cups of quick cooking oats. Now, quick cooking oats are not the instant oats that you get in the packets. These come in a canister just like old-fashioned oats. Now, if you only have old-fashioned on hand and you want to make these right away, not a problem. You just put the same amount, a 1.25 cups, into the food processor, mini food processor, and just quickly pulse it a few times until it becomes fine. And this is what you are looking for. There's going to be some powdery flour type stuff. There's going to be other bits that are chopped up. You just want to get these down to where they cook more quickly. You could probably do old-fashioned, but I didn't want that firm of a texture of the oats in here, so I went with quick cooking. Here I have 1 cup of flour. I could use just the oats, but I wanted to give it a little more structure. Here I have 1 1/2 cups of diced strawberries, and that is divided because we're going to put some on top just for presentation-wise. If you don't care what they look like, you can just put this all in at once. But I'm going to make them look pretty by putting a few little bits of strawberry on the top. Here I have 1 cup of mashed banana, and that took about 2.5 medium-sized bananas. So anywhere between 2 and 3 bananas. But you want to make sure that they're ripe, that their skin has some browning, because you want them to be soft, you want them to be sweet, and that's going to really help give us that banana flavor. Here I have 1/3 cup of plain non-fat Greek yogurt, and that's just going to give us a little tang like you would get if you were using buttermilk. Here I have 1/2 cup of sugar replacement, and I'm using the all-purpose in the raw, but whatever one you use is fine. You just want it to be equivalent to a 1/2 cup of regular sugar. Here I have 2 eggs, and those are at room temperature, as is 1/3 cup of almond milk. That's going to help loosen up this batter a little bit. Here I have 1 tablespoon of white vinegar. Now you may be wondering, why are you putting vinegar in a muffin? Actually, vinegar is very good in baked goods, and I do plan on working on another recipe for some cupcakes using vinegar. But what it does is it helps to tenderize the baked good. It helps to enhance the flavor. It can also help to preserve these, make them last a little bit longer without mold developing. And they also help with leavening. The vinegar is going to react with the baking soda and baking powder that I have in here and really make this light and fluffy. And trust me, you won't taste the vinegar. Here I have 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and 1 teaspoon of strawberry extract. Now the strawberry extract will really enhance that strawberry flavor, but if you can't find it or don't want to use it, you just use a tablespoon of vanilla extract, or honestly, you could even put in some almond extract if you want. So you can play around with the extract flavoring a little bit. Here I have 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder, 3/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And that amount of leavening paired with the vinegar is really going to make these nice and tender and fluffy muffins. All right, so those are all of the ingredients. Let me shuffle a few things around and we'll get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is to mix together our dry ingredients. I have a medium small bowl here. To that, I'm going to add in the flour, the oats, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. And then just whisk this all together just to get everything incorporated. In particular, the leaveners, you want the baking powder and baking soda, and even the salt spread throughout so you don't have pockets of it in here. And it does take a little longer just because of the oats being in here. It's not as easy to whisk together, but just get it together as much as you can. And then we're gonna set this aside. And I'm going to bring in a medium bowl. Now we're gonna mix together our wet ingredients, but I'm going to do them in a certain order. You could probably throw this all in there and blend it, but I wanna make sure particularly the eggs get broken up and incorporated. So I'm going to add in my banana and the eggs, and I'm going to break up those egg yolks and just whisk these two together. You really want to make sure that your eggs are broken up well, and having them mix in with the banana does kind of help them to disperse more throughout. But you just want to get those broken up and incorporated. And that only takes a few seconds. Okay, next I'm going to add in the sugar replacement. Now, I've mentioned before that sometimes sugar replacement or sugar is considered a wet ingredient because it will incorporate itself into the liquid. Unlike flour, because if you put flour in here, the flour would start to absorb the liquid. This is going to be dispersed into the liquid. So we're going to add in our sweetener and whisk that in. This is just to help that sugar replacement to blend in to our liquid a little easier. And finally, we're going to add in the almond milk, Greek yogurt, vinegar, vanilla, and strawberry extract. And then just whisk all of that together. We want to make sure that everything, especially the Greek yogurt, which can kind of try to clump, is broken up and dispersed into our liquid. And that looks good right there. And now I'm going to switch over to my spatula and I'm going to add in the dry ingredients. You can add that in 2 parts if you want, if you think it'll incorporate better, but I've never had any trouble with incorporating it. So just gently fold that all in. You don't want to work it too much and develop any gluten because that will make these tough and we don't want that. And then once everything's just incorporated, we're going to add in the 1.25 cups of strawberries and mix that in. Now, as I said, if you didn't care about the presentation, you could add all of the strawberry chunks in here. Or if you weren't in the mood for strawberry, honestly, you could change up the fruit. You could also change the mashed banana to either pumpkin or applesauce and play around with the flavors, play around with whatever fruit you want to add in. But the fruit should be diced so that it's about the size of a blueberry. You don't want them too big. All right, so now what we're going to do is let this sit here for about 10 minutes. What that's going to do is it's going to help the oats to hydrate, to soften up a little bit. It's also going to give the vinegar time to react with the baking powder and baking soda. So give me about 10 minutes and we'll move on. All right, so it's been almost 10 minutes. You can go anywhere from 7 to 10 minutes with this, and you might be able to see there are a couple little bubbles forming in there from the vinegar interacting with the leaveners. So I'm going to set this off to the side and bring in my muffin tin. And I'm going to use a number 14 scoop. That's about 1/4 cup. It's usually a little bit more than that, about 1/3 cup to fill these, but this was the largest one that I had. So I'm going to just take the scoop and generously fill it and then put that into one of the muffin cups. And I'm just going to do that with each of these, and then I'll come back if there's some left and disperse it among all of the muffins. But let me get these filled. I'll be right back. Okay, now that's all evenly distributed in here. You do want to go, if there are any drips like I have here, you do want to go and clean those up before you put this into the oven, because what can happen is that little bit of batter could burn and it could kind of affect the flavor by emitting some smokiness into the oven. So just clean up around each of the cups. And now I'm going to take the quarter cup that was remaining and just dot the tops. Just for presentation, as I said, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. You could have just added this quarter cup in with the rest. And then just kind of nestle them down into the batter so that they're not just sitting on the top. All right, so these are all set to go into the oven. They're going to go into a 350-degree oven for 22 to 26 minutes. You want to see a little bit of browning around the edge. The top will be firm to the touch, and a toothpick inserted in the middle will come out clean. So I'm going to get these into the oven, and I'll see you shortly. Okay, there we have them, my strawberry banana oat muffins, looking delightful. You can see there's a little browning around the edge. You touch them, they are firm, and the toothpick came out clean. Now, when you check the toothpick, make sure you feel it as well, because it could look clean, but then there's a little stickiness on the toothpick. You want to do this until there's very little stickiness on the toothpick, because that could mean there's a little too much moisture in here and they could be gummy. But they look delicious, they smell great, so I'm very excited to have these again, and I know Paul will be too. Now I have to let them sit in the pan for about 5 minutes just so they can hold on to their structure. Right now they're a little too hot and soft, and there's a chance of breaking them if you try to remove them too soon. So that's usually why you're told to leave something in a pan for 5-10 minutes. So about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to take them out and put them onto the cooling rack. But you don't have to wait for that. I can give you all of the information that you're looking for right now. As I promised, I do have the 0-point list from WW. So I'm going to try to be as close as I can to giving you their current points. I may be off a little bit here or there because I'm just doing it mentally. I do a lot of things mentally. But for each of these muffins, it is only 2 better balanced bites. And because the oats are 0 points now, I am removing them from the equation. So these should come to 1 WW point. And you'll see in the new little banner that I have with all the information, in parentheses, it will give what I approximate the WW points to be. Now, if you are following calories, the calories for each of these is 122. And if you are following macros, the fat is 1.7 grams. Saturated fat is 0.4 grams. Protein is 4.4 grams. Carbs are 30.6 grams. Fiber is 2.3 grams. And sugars are 4.5 grams for one of these muffins. And you can see how just putting a few of the little bits on top makes these better for presentation, but again, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. I do like the way it looks though, so I think it's worth the extra step to do that, but feel free not to if you'd rather not. Now, the recipe for these will of course be on my blog. I will link directly to the recipe down in the description box. There will also be a link to my blog itself if you're looking for any of my recipes. Or speaking of my recipes, you can also find a link to pick up my cookbook down there. There's also my 2 stores, my Zazzle and my Fourth Wall store, and my Amazon storefront. There's also ways to contact me, like my social media. So check out that description box for all sorts of information. Well, I'm going to go get these removed from their pans, and I will show you right here a little clip of what they look like when I've taken them out and peeled off the wrapper, and they look and smell delicious. Nice and tender. I can't wait to bite into them. So I hope that you'll be making these yourself very soon, and until next time, bye.